Okay, good evening, everyone. Gee, I feel like, wow, I'm up here. Okay, my first time in this new podium here. Stayed away for 30 days, enjoying our country, Brazil, and I'm back to work. Yes, we're going to be talking about patience, but I believe, everybody here has a lot of patience. Is that true? Yeah, okay. For those that don't, it's going to be very important to understand, why do we need patience? Why is that so crucial? Why is that so important that we do? Is that important for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish in this life as a spirit, and also as a regular man walking down, the road, working, having family, dealing with our kids, right? Dogs. And so that's what we are here for. And normally, when you just stop anybody or just somebody out there today, perhaps after this, and say, well, it's not going to be after this, but if you ask somebody, said, do you have patience? Are you a patient guy? The guy will say, oh, I don't have patience. And that is something that we want to change as well, because it's not a matter of having patience. It's a matter of developing patience, of learning how to be patient. So we want to go from I don't have patience to I don't want or never wanted to have patience so far. Maybe I'm just by ignoring the benefits of it, to all the way to I want to learn how to be patient. Okay? So, the main sources for our study tonight, there is a book channeled by, thank God, Francisco Cândido Xavier, our Chico Xavier, that's called Patience, and comes from Emmanuel, the spirit of Emmanuel. And of course, there's a lot here from our gospel, according to the Spiritism. And then there's a lot of literature out there about patience outside our Spiritist movement. There's a lot of authors, a lot of books, good books, that talks about the benefits of patience and how to get there. One of them is, and this is The Power of Patience by Mrs. Ryan. It's I don't know if that's a bestseller, but she had a lot of bestsellers, and this is another one that sold a lot, The Power of Patience. And the title per se is really, really what we are here for, to talk about the power of patience. So, what is patience? Of course, it's one of those things that, if you ask, you're going to find different answers from everybody. But we're going to try to deal with this one here. It says, a state of serene and calm perseverance. Right? Okay. Serene, calm, perseverance. So that's the definition we're going to use here. And when we have this state of mind, when waiting, it's very common, when we talk about patience, the first thing that comes to mind may not be people, may not be our spouse, but maybe time waiting. And that waiting could be because, as I put it there, we have this, we all suffer from this rush syndrome. And even if your iPhone is taking 1 second too long, you already get impatient. Because we are, that's what we have become, given the progress in technology and everything else. So, also when we are in pain, and that's probably the most important one, we are always in pain of some sort. It could be physical pain, it could be mental pain. We are in this world, and this world is full of pain. And also when we're feeling frustrated, disappointed, and when, this all could happen during the day, as we go to work, as we get stuck in traffic, or as we miss a deadline or something like that. definitely in relationships. Do we need patience in relationships? A lot, right? And of course also to maintain our mind, body, and soul equilibrium. When that thing gets out of balance, then we get impatient. Okay. Without patience, what happens? We fail to learn the lessons from life. And as a result, we can't properly reach maturity and wisdom. Why do we fail to learn? Well, just from a neuroscience standpoint, whenever you are impatient, we are in that mode of having a panic attack, okay? You just can't think through things correctly, the right way, at the right time, with the right perspective, let alone what you're going to do to your body by pumping a lot of bad hormones that is going to create all that feeling that we all know when we are impatient. Can you remember last time we were very impatient for something, what was happening to your body? Like almost you're not feeling okay, your body was suffering. But yes, whenever we are in a situation and we find ourselves impatient, we lose the ability to think properly. And that is science, that is normal. We make of ourselves, we become very irritable. When we are impatient, you really don't want anybody to ask you any funny questions, dumb questions, or anything, because we're very irritated. You were thinking about that thing that happened to you, and that's all you can think of. We become unable to enjoy pleasure. The only thing we care is to resolve whatever it needs to be resolved at that particular point in time. And we fail to dedicate ourselves to what we really want in life. Sometimes we forget what we are here for, but just because the flight got canceled, you become another person. Unless you have patience. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That means you having that balance that it takes for you to put things in perspective, analyze it, understand the impact. Sometimes understand that it's not as big as it seems. We live in a world, and we are kind of wired, given our history and talking about throughout incarnations, that we are afraid of everything that might seem dangerous, even when it's not. It's not dangerous at all, but you just assume there's danger here. Now, with patience, what happens? Things change quite substantially. So patience brings self-control. So let's stop there for a minute. So if you lose self-control, again, then you lose your mind. You lose your ability to think. You lose your ability to come up with the right equation, the right solution, the right perspective, the right view of the situation. And then, as it says here, you lose the ability to stop and think, put things in the right perspective, and then, of course, we are going to end up making the wrong decisions. Okay, so as I speak here, think about situations where we have become very impatient about. And probably, if this is something that happened recently, you can always go back and say, what if I had been patient? What would have been the outcome? Now, remember, it's not just the outcome, it's what happened to you that particular moment. Because once you learn patience, then you're going to be patient throughout, and you're going to be calm. You're going to have this serene perseverance to your goals. It's not like well, sometimes I'm very patient, sometimes I'm very impatient. It's okay, that's normal, but the more impatient you become, more frequently you have that impatience, the worse off you're going to get as far as you living a more enjoyable life. It constantly reward us with the benefits of maturity and wisdom. For example, better relationships. That's definitely the case. So in a relationship, sometimes 30 seconds of patience or 15 seconds of patience could have led that discussion to a completely different place, much better place. But we let our irrational side, the side of us that don't think, like the subconscious, to take control, and then you lose control. Better work quality, you can see that. So somebody made a mistake, you can ruin the day of everybody in the office, or you can resolve that with patience and see what went wrong. And most importantly, you lose your peace of mind, which is not what we want. If you want to be happy, we want to have peace of mind. So what does this miracle of keeping this balance? So it says here that it takes into account the essential qualities of our minds and hearts, which is persistency, right? We're going to talk about all of them: persistency, serenity, and tolerance. And of course, tolerance is a big piece, so fundamental. But as far as persistency, it brings you this security and capacity to move forward toward your goals. So if you are patient, have not lost your equilibrium, your emotional balance, then you're going to feel empowered. So, okay, this is what's going on. I can put this whole thing in perspective, and I can see the potential outcome, and I can see the real danger here, or I can see it's not a big deal, in some cases, and you feel empowered. Now, if you just go panicking, you were not empowered at all. You are more inclined to just, just pronounce some bad words and turn around and leave the opportunity. What about serenity? It brings us that peace of mind, plus ability to view issues from different angles. So every issue can be seen from at least two perspectives. The guy that's defending point A versus the guy that's defending point B. Sometimes both are right, depending on where you sit, depending on your point of view. But if we're not calm and putting things in perspective, then you lose that ability to see issues from a different angle. And then you can only see one angle. And then, again, you were bound to make some not so good decisions. Tolerance. Okay. It's the power of acceptance. When we are tolerant, we accept. So it strengthens our courage and optimism. It helps us accept others as they are. This is a particular important point. Okay, so you are tolerant with somebody that on the surface is wrong, or he never got things right, whatever the situation is. And you can just analyze and judge and sentence that guy to death, or you can understand that he's in the different point of his learning curve compared to us. And then you're going to look at him as somebody that needs help. And if you have compassion, all of a sudden you will work with him and he's becoming happier and happier, and you're not going to really consume all that bad hormones that would otherwise run through your veins. And this other one here, we're going to talk more about it in a minute, but make us able to recognize that difficulties are part of life, at least in this planet here, which is a planet for trials and expiations. everybody here is subject to difficulties, and we only learn and grow by using these difficulties to our favor, in our favor. There's always a lesson to learn from every difficulty. Okay, what does the gospel say about this whole thing? And this is all in chapter 9. And in this particular part of it is the spirit is that's instruction from the spirits, and this spirit here that calls herself friendly spirit is actually Joana de Angelis. We know this because of other information from her in other different books. Pain is a blessing that God sent us. So bless God who, through the pain of this world, has chosen you to receive glory in heaven. All right, so this is very profound, as normally is when it comes from Joana de Angelis. So you sometimes have to stop and think thoroughly about it. So pain is something that comes to us for a reason, and normally reflects something that you can call a consequence or an effect of a cause that was caused by ourselves. So we were getting this because of this thing here that you did. Now we're getting this. And this here now is the way you are going to make up for what you did wrong or didn't do very properly. But right through that, there's a lesson. If you pass the test, then there's glory waiting for you in heaven, in the sense that every time you recapitulate something that you need to go through once again because you have still to learn about it, you go a step up. And that's what we want to do. So then the gospel says in the same session, be patient. Patience is also a charity. And you should practice the law of charity taught by Jesus, forgiving all those placed in our pathway by God to act as instruments for our suffering and to test our patience. So we are being tested whenever we are up against something difficult, something that looks like, sounds like, feels like some sort of trial. It could be small, but we are always being tested. But the first part of it is talk about charity. So think about somebody that's in the office or here in the center or at home or wherever, that is somebody that creates a lot of difficulties. By listening to patiently, by trying to dialogue, trying to understand, that's charity. Now, when you don't have patience for that, we're missing the opportunity. And when you miss the opportunity, the only thing you can be sure of, it's going to come around again. So that's how the cause and effect laws work, and that's how we evolve. We have to win over our, in a way, we have to learn all the lessons that come to us via those difficulties. So, what else does it say in that session of the gospel? We know full well that life is difficult, being composed of so many insignificant things which act as repeated pinpricks. The burden appears to be less heavy when one looks at heaven than when looking down to earth. Okay, again, as Joana de Angelis, it requires interpretation. So we're carrying this burden, right? And the burden is going to look a lot less either bad or heavy when you were looking up and saying, okay, this is part of my learning curve, this is part of what I need to master, this is part of what I need to work to accomplish something, right? Maybe it's something to help you develop not only patience, but also, I don't know, become more humble, for example, right? Learn to do charity, learn to listen. So, then the author goes on and say, courage, my friends, Christ is your model. He suffered far more than any of you and had no debt to offer penitence for. Whereas you must suffer for your past and fortify yourselves for the future. So be patient. And then, it's interesting because she says, be patient, be Christians. Of course, she explains why in the paragraph before, right? In the sentence before. Jesus Christ went through a lot without having to for himself, He did that for us. And look at him. Be Christians and therefore be patient. It's very interesting. Never, as everybody knows, every time we read the gospel, we learn something new, no matter how many times we read it. And this is something that draw my attention this time. If you are Christians, then the other day somebody, I guess, in the Facebook would say, if you have faith in God, bring His gospel into your home. So, you need to think about it. So, it's saying that I have faith in God and stop right there and don't bring His gospel to home. Meaning, we're not bringing His teaching, His laws, His love in anything to home. So yeah, you can have faith in God, but how are we going to evolve? Okay, moving now to the Spirit's book. In the question 909, Kardec asks the following question. Would a man's own efforts always suffice to enable him to vanquish his evil tendencies? In other words, can we really win over our evil tendencies? Well, here's the answer from the spirits. Yes, very small ones are often all that it takes, all that's needed. Though the will that's missing. Okay, I read it in the wrong tone here, but the thing is, it doesn't require most of the times a lot of effort for us to step up a little bit, to win over our bad tendencies. But then the gospel says what we miss really is the will to do so. Now, it doesn't mean we made that decision consciously. It just means that you have not, sometimes it just means that you have not thought this thing through and you have not made a decision to go and work on that. Okay, the next one says, most of the time we can use patience as an active virtue which gives us the serenity to look for solutions to the problems, thus avoiding excessive tension, irritation, anger, depression. In doing so, we will be able to get out of the problem while learning from it. So this is kind of a summing up what the answer from the on the spirits was regarding, can we, do we have the power, do we have the ability, the capacity to overcome our bad tendencies? But of course, the answer involves having patience, so you can keep your serenity and you can go through the issue and learn from it. So that's, for tonight at least, we're talking about patience. That is a key message. All right, the way to self-control. So we're talking about we need to keep our balance for the sake of our lives, our progress, and how we do that. Okay. There might be a number of ways to get there, but here's one. we need to analyze and understand. So imagine something went wrong. Your flight got canceled. Okay. So before you get, very, very impatient, and this doesn't take forever to do, analyze, understand what is the issue. Then number 2 is stay within reality bounds, meaning let's be realistic, let's put the thing into perspective the right way. And then take action. Of course, this is only possible if you stop at that first, that initial impulse of doing something that's not going to help you at all, like saying some bad words to the guy at the counter who has no control over it. So the practicing of patience is critical to achieve spiritual well-being, and it requires the support of other mental states of active force like obedience and resignation. So resignation is going to come again in this presentation. But resignation is acceptance. So that's what it is. But acceptance with love, with compassion, with tolerance, right? So this truck there is saying, got patience? Okay, so can you imagine yourself in a line, and you look at the rear view mirror, and you just hope the guy behind you is patient, so he's not going to run over you, right? So I hope that guy over there, the back there, is very patient, because this is going to be tough. And I hope he's not going to keep blowing, the horn on me. And then once you do that, and then you look ahead and say, why is this guy, blocking the road here? I'm going to kill him, right? So you see the difference, how you look at the guy in front of you, and when we're in traffic, everybody else is traffic, but we are not. We're just, we should not be there. We are there because of everybody else, but we are traffic as well. So, got patience? All right. It says here something we can develop if we want. It's like a muscle. Huh? When you go to gym, if you want to really develop your muscles, you just go to gym and take some that stuff that they take, and you're going to show off these big muscles, right? So, same thing with patience. You can develop through exercising. But of course, there are other steps before you exercise we're going to be talking here. You need motivation. Without motivation, you're not going to do anything in life. So you're going to have that willingness. So enough is enough. It's time for me to stop this thing in me that keeps me always irritable, always like in panic, always like somebody that is dangerous sometimes, And I don't want that anymore. So that's a sign that you recognize there is a better life, that patience is not helping you. So if impatience is not helping you, then it's time to change. But it's not going to come without work. Perception with self-knowledge. And then cultivation, we're practicing. So those are key steps if we want to develop patience. There's this thing here from Google that says, patience is not a skill, it is a decision. Let's stop there for a minute. So again, it is a decision in the sense that you can always, as it says here, you can always decide to go through what's in front of you with a lot of adrenaline in your body, or the other way around, with patience that's going to allow you to resolve the situation in a much better way and avoid you staying with that problem, with the, let's say, with the residues, with the what's gonna cause you to feel for many hours after that moment when you blew up. Because what happens when we blow up? So it's not the end of that blow up that you're going to become, you're going to be normal again. Some people may take a day. I hear in my office that, these couples, once they have a fight, they don't talk to each other for 3 days, for a week, or for 24 hours. So you are all consuming that bad energy for long. And do you really want that? And at the end of 3 days, whatever, you're going to kiss. And, so why don't use patience? Why don't try to understand how can you shorten that whole interval to a few seconds? All right, how you like this guy here? Is he irritated? So exercising patience requires self-control. We discussed that. So meaning we have to let go of our negative emotions, irritation, anger, anxiety, etc. And perhaps sometimes we need to go for a walk. Work on our garden. Work around the home, fixing everything that needs to be fixed or something that needs to be fixed. Doing volunteer work. Yeah, that helps a lot. Visit somebody that needs to hear from you, needs to see you. Or sometimes just listen to a song. What this is really sounds like cliche, but what it means really is take a break. If you have not yet learned how to be patient, okay? But at the same time you hate to be impatient, take a break. We all can do that. And when we take a break, what happens is very simple. You're buying yourself time to address the issue more properly. That's going to happen for sure, because you're going to think through. You're not going to react just based on your instincts. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. So everybody may have seen this, heard this, read this. Worriness is one of the patient's enemies. If we're too worried about something, it's very difficult to be patient when we are very worried about something and that something is not coming or it's not happening, and to become even more worried, and then that doesn't help at all, up to a point where your blood pressure, if you are my age, your blood pressure may go too high, and then you have some other problems to deal with. Worriness distracts from what is the base problem that you need to do, because then you start to see all sort of other problems, and that comes out of that one little thing. Worrishness is the sentiment that finds fertile ground in those with weak faith. Now we're getting to something very fundamental here. That's the reason for the top lines in there. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Too much worry excessive worry, okay, means sometimes, or perhaps even most of the times, lack of faith. So then comes this for us. When a man knows who he is, when he has faith in God, when he sees his own life as a means to self-evolution, and when he recognizes difficulties as necessary trials, then he possesses such a robust faith that automatically frees him from worriness. Does that make sense to you all? So, you're not going to be passive all the time. We are humans, and we are at this level, of development, which is not very high. That's why we're here in this planet, this world of trials and expiation. So yes, we are gonna. It requires us to train, and practice. But at the end, at some point, you will be so sure of yourself, so sure of why things are the way they are, so sure of there's nothing wrong in this world. Everything is where it should be, because God is in control, And we don't want to think that God lost control of anything, do we? So when you get to that point, and then you say, okay, here's something that I need to handle. And you're going to have this feeling that you can. You're going to have this feeling that you're not alone. So that would be wonderful. All right. What happens when our patients reach the limit of our not-so-solid faith? So, as this little graph says, patience there is near to our tank is empty. So when that happens, here's what the gospel says. Our trials in life have the purpose of exercising our intelligence as much as it exercises our patience and resignation. Okay, so at that point, you're going to look and say, what's wrong is my empty patience tank, so I'm going to work on that. And once I'm done that, I'm going to come back and address the issue that I have to address. We have to use our resignation to develop patience. So in that case, Spiritism plays a big role in our lives, because we learn that here a lot. That resignation is fundamental for us to, instead of just spot checking our trials in this life, we're going to live through it and learn from it. And, we're going to be able to say, I'm done, I've learned, I'm ready. So it becomes then, having patience and developing patience, become as patient as we can, is part of our task to improve our spirits. So it's not something that's just nice to have. Helps me throughout the day. Wow. Yeah, it does. But also in the list of virtues that we need to develop if we want to reach a higher level of development, in our spirits. Patience characteristic of the spirit which needs to be developed. Okay, we just said that. So, more from the gospel. Gospel says, looking at things from a higher level, the importance of the earthly vicissitudes disappears in the vast horizon, and the perspective for happiness waiting for us gives us the patience, the resignation, and the courage to persevere through the end of the journey. All right, so if we're thinking about the traffic jam, that's one thing. But if you think about the loss of somebody that you love, if you're thinking about illness, thinking about some major financial disaster in your life, something real big, it's going to help you a lot to have this kind of a mindset, looking at everything from a higher perspective. So you want to look, I guess in the Kardec's book, Hell and Heaven, they talk about it. One of the spirits, looking at our trials from there, we get ashamed because we're so little. And here, it's look at just the normals. But this is us magnifying the importance of the earthly issues sometimes. So, it's a matter of practicing. Okay. I told you there's a lot of literature out there. One of them, many more than one, comes from Dalai Lama, okay, like in this book. Like all spiritual achievements, patience is to be developed through education and practicing, as the spirit intentionally seeks to improve its own aptitudes. So our spirit, we have all the germs, all the seeds in there of all the virtues. We just need to work on them, water them, make them germinate. And so is the case with patience. And it says here, through education. Well, that is a fundamental thing. So if you don't know why you need to improve patience level, then you're not going to do it. Why is it important to us? Why is it important to be patient versus impatient? So I'm okay the way I am. I'm very impatient. I tell everybody right on the spot what they need to hear. So I'm perfect. For whom? Right? So you need education like we did here today, starting by talking about the gifts of patience. André Luiz says, your life will always be what you constantly think of, what you constantly envision. Because of that, any real change in your journey will only come through changes in your thoughts. Education, education, education. And knowing that we don't change by listening to others, we don't change by reading a book. We only change when we experience what we want to be like. That's the way we transfer from here to our subconscious and definitely to our consciousness. The difference between consciousness and mind, it's the subject of a separate, a different study. But I'll tell you, the consciousness is who you are. So in the gospel, again, Jesus said, blessed are the meek because they, there's a mistake there, they will inherit the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers because they will be called children of God. Let's see what comes out of that. In the same part of the gospel, chapter 9, by this maxim, Jesus makes meekness, moderation, docility, affability, and patience a law. So now we get complicated here because it's definitely not an option. It is an option to the sense that God's law comes with a big footnote to have your free will. So you can postpone this forever. It's impossible, but just for the sake of here, but of our argument. But until you learn, you don't really accomplish the progress that you should and you could. The road to a less stressful life, the gifts of patience. Now you're talking about the road to a less stressful life. Of course, when you have patience, you have balance, and all the things we've been talking about. The first things we need to know, as you said, is in this road, the first thing is understand the gifts of patience. Why is that important? The next one is, what are the attitudes of patience? How do I relate to, when I see a person with certain attitudes, how do I relate that to patience? But actually, it's not, this is wrong. We need to look at ourselves. What are our attitudes that are related to patience and impatience? And last one, the practice of patience. So I don't know if you can read that, but you can see everybody says, there is another one that says, I want patience. God, send me patience, but please hurry. Okay, so so I can't wait. Okay, so that's a lot of patience, right? Okay. Just like this guy here in the figure. So the gifts of patience is going to require a pair of glasses. But we're going to skip the gifts and the attitudes. We're going to go right to the practice of patience, which is what we want to really focus on. So be truthful to yourself as to your actual situation in this moment. So if you are not truthful to yourself, you're saying, I'm patient. When everybody around you, particularly your spouses or your kids, know they're not. Right? But you were lying to you. So that doesn't help at all. Let's be honest to ourselves. And then another thing that helps you a lot is, what are the situations when I become very impatient? So there are certain things that you're not impatient about. Maybe you were so concerned, so accustomed to traffic, then it doesn't bother you anymore. Like a taxi driver and say, well, what else there's nothing I can do about it. What triggers my impatience? So it's very important so that you know what triggers it. So you can direct your efforts properly to how you're going to master what you need to master to avoid that impatience, right? So coming to the center makes you impatient, so you're going to have to work on that. But you're not working with a very clear goal, a very clear direction. Learn to recognize the first signs that you're going to get impatient. So it's another thing that's very easy. So we should know, and should be able to recognize when you are going to get impatient, so you can act ahead of time and avoid that situation. Okay, pause, take a break. We discussed that, but pause is a miracle thing. Whenever you pause before you answer, I can assure you, your answer is going to be more, it's going to be smarter, more proper, and it's going to probably direct or address the right issue. When you don't, then is your instinct reacting to the thing, and your instinct may not be as patient as you think you are. Come down to the trunk of the tree. Does anybody know what it means? So imagine yourself, you know, just for the sake of, you know, having some, you know, just to enjoy life a little bit more or whatever, you went all the way up to, you know, all the way up in a tree, and then perhaps to get a mango or whatever, and then there is it's not a good day, and it started to rain, or it started to, this is really, just have to imagine, it's not going to happen, but imagine there is the wind is getting really, really, really fast, and you feel totally insecure up there. What do you have to do? Look for a place that's safer. In this case, come down to the trunk, so that is not going to fall apart, no matter how strong the wind is. So this is what we need to do in real life. Whenever you're feeling too vulnerable in a situation, including the fact that you might lose your temper, come down to the trunk. Where is the trunk? It could be that taking a pause, could be going for a walk, could be asking for a minute, go take some water. Use your internal resources and wisdom. We have a lot of resources. We just don't use it sometimes. Follow your heart, because that really can translate into follow the best version of yourself. You don't want to be impatient. Is the best version of yourself. It's already here in the works, but it's not yet in your subconscious, so it works automatically. So follow your heart, follow the best of you. Analyze the risks, because sometimes we overstate the risks. Sometimes we, again, we have this feeling that everything can be dangerous, everything. Keep your eye on the benefits. Be good at saying, is it worth it? Do we really want to react like that? Do we really want to do this or that? And have you all a great and very patient weekend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.